Hello friends. Today I'm going to explain an amazing Chinese drama. In the beginning of the drama, we see snowfall in the city, and a girl named Gia, who is the daughter of the city's richest man, is riding her bike somewhere. A lot of cars are following her when her brother Han says, "Gia, please slow down." Gia stops her bike, and her brother Han gets out of the car and comes over to her saying, "I've been telling you to slow down for so long." Gia replies, "Brother, why did you come here at this time? I came here to spend some time." Han says, "Dad has accepted Shing now. You can bring him to meet Dad." Gia, overjoyed, responds, "Really? All right. When my mother-in-law comes for her birthday, I'll bring him to meet Dad. But when you have time, buy a gift for her too, okay? I have some work to do now, so I'll leave." And she drives off. In the next scene, Gia is at the hospital getting a checkup when the doctor tells her, "Miss Gia, congratulations! You're pregnant." Gia, thrilled, asks, "Am I really pregnant?" The doctor replies, "Yes, you're 8 weeks along, but your baby's health isn't in the good condition, so you'll need to take extra care," and then leaves. Gia then picks up her phone and thinks to herself, "If I tell Shing this, he'll be so happy." She calls Shing, but his phone is busy. Then she sees a picture of Shing with another girl wearing a necklace, which brings back a memory where she once saw Shing holding a necklace, thinking, "You want to give me this necklace? I wonder how long you'll keep this surprise hidden." Remembering this, Gia says to herself, "Shing, you still haven't forgotten her," and tries calling him again, but he doesn't answer. Gia begins to feel dizzy and thinks, "I can't believe Shing would cheat on me." As she stands up to leave, a nurse tries to stop her, but Gia says, "I have to go to my husband." Next, we see Shing arriving at the same ward with a girl named Ji Xuan, who says, "Thank you so much, Shing. I'm so happy you came to keep me company at the hospital, even with your busy schedule." The nurse approaches them and asks, "Mr. Liu, did you get your girlfriend checked up?" Shing shows her the reports, and the nurse says, "The baby's condition is perfectly normal. There's nothing to worry about." Gia overhears this and thinks, Shing, not only did you cheat on me, but you also got someone else pregnant." She walks out in front of them and slaps Shing, saying, "Shing, we've been married for 3 years. I've done so much for your family, yet you cheated on me and got another woman pregnant. What do you take me for?" Then it turns out she only imagined doing this. Now, as she's about to approach them, Shing notices her. Ji Xuan asks, "What are you looking at?" Shing replies, "Nothing. Let's go home now that you're okay," and they leave. Now, 3 years later, at a birthday party at the Liu household, Gia arrives and bumps into a girl, spilling wine on the girl's clothes. The girl angrily says, "Can't you see? How can the Liu family have a blind servant like you?" Gia replies, "You bumped into me, and for the record, I'm not a servant of the Liu family." The girl retorts, "You look like a servant." At that moment, Gia's mother-in-law, Mrs. Liu, comes over and tells them, "At least forgive her for my sake." The girl responds, "All right, if you say so," and leaves. Gia then tells Mrs. Liu, "Mom, I forgot you organized a birthday party here today. Anyway, I bought you a bag as a gift. Let me get it for you." Mrs. Liu says, "There's no need. Ji Xuan already gifted me a bag. I may be old, but I can't accept a bag you bought from a stall." Gia replies, "I didn't buy it from a stall. It's a limited edition made by a famous designer." Mrs. Liu interrupts, "Shut up. You can't earn money, nor can you have children. My son is the president of Liu Group. I don't know why he married a girl like you." Another girl chimes in, "Mr. Liu is so handsome. How could he marry someone like her? She's even wearing such a tacky dress to Mrs. Liu's birthday party." Hearing this, Gia says to Mrs. Liu, "What do you think? Did the Liu family achieve all this on their own?" Mrs. Liu responds, "What are you trying to say, Gia? Of course we did this on our own. Do you think we depend on you? I chose Ji Xuan as my daughter-in-law 3 years ago, and now she's back, pregnant with the Liu family's child. Why don't you just get a divorce from my son?" Gia replies, "When the Liu family faced financial trouble, I helped you. Otherwise, your company would have been bankrupt by now." She then thinks to herself, "Shing once saved me, which is why I helped the Liu family. I didn't expect them to hate me so much for my kindness." Another girl says to Gia, "You're just a village girl without money or background. How could you have helped the Liu family? Your jokes make me laugh." Gia replies, "If I hadn't married Shing, you all wouldn't even have the status to stand in front of me." Hearing this, they all laugh, and one girl says, "There's only one person we're not qualified to face, and that's the richest man here, Mr. Xiang. So, are you Mr. Xiang's daughter?" Gia replies, "Yes." Another girl says, just because you have the same surname doesn't mean you're Mr. Xiang's daughter. A second girl adds, Mr. Xiang would have raised his daughter like a princess since childhood. She wouldn't look anything like you. You must have gone crazy from poverty. Then Mrs. Lu says, go to your room now and stop embarrassing me in front of everyone. At that moment, Lu Xing arrives and takes Gia to change her clothes. Gia then asks, Lu Xing, can I ask where you've been all this time? Lu Xing replies, in 2 months. Xiang Group will hold a fashion show, which will directly impact Lu Group. So, I went in advance to check if Lu Group qualifies to participate in that show. Gia replies, I've already checked. Lu Group doesn't stand a chance in that show. Lu Xing asks, what are you trying to say? Gia responds, you're rekindling your relationship with Ji Xuan. I knew she still held a place in your heart, but at least after marriage, you shouldn't have an affair with her. You even got her pregnant, but did you ever think about your wife? Lu Xing says, don't look at me with your dirty eyes. Gia replies, what's wrong with me? I loved you wholeheartedly for 3 years, worked day and night for your family, and endured their disrespect. Yet you still cheated on me. Lu Xing says, if you still want to remain Mrs. Lu, then just keep your eyes closed because Ji Xuan is different from you. If anything happens to her baby, I won't spare you. Lu Xing thinks to himself, I still haven't found that man. He then remembers a scene where he saw Gia hugging her brother Han in a flashback. In the next scene, Ji Xuan comes to Gia and says, I heard you've taken care of Lu Xing for the past 3 years. Thank you for that. Gia replies, you're not qualified to thank me. Ji Xuan then says, I came here to give you some advice. You shouldn't worry about things that aren't yours because Lu Xing married you out of anger, but he's always loved me. Gia laughs and replies, I never expected you'd pick up my discarded trash. Lu Xing is already dirty, but if you like him that much, I'll give him to you. Ji Xuan responds, I've seen many women like you. Then Gia says, why are you telling me all this? You should go to Lu Shang and beg him to marry you. Just then, Ji Xuan accidentally spills wine on herself, grabs Gia's arm and cries, I love Lu Xing so much, please leave me alone, otherwise my baby will get hurt. Ji Xuan looks like she's about to fall, but Lu Xing catches her just in time. Others gather around and Ji Xuan tells them, I just came here to thank Ms. Gia for taking care of Lu Shang all these years, but she tried to force me to drink wine to harm my baby. A woman turns to Gia and says, how could you stoop so low, Gia? You pushed a pregnant lady? Gia protests, I didn't do anything, and starts to walk away. But Ji Xuan shoves her, making her fall to the ground. Lu Xing helps her up, saying, I'll forgive you for what happened today, but don't let it happen again. Angrily, Gia says, looks like you've lost your memory. I don't want to be with you anymore. And after today, I'll never set foot in the Lu family again. Lu Xing responds, where will you go if not the Lu family? But if you've decided to leave, take off anything on you that belongs to us. Furious, Gia removes everything given to her by the Lu family. Ji Xuan then adds, since Lu Xing doesn't want to be with you anymore, it's best if you don't return. Taking off her wedding ring, Gia retorts, the thing I regret most in my life is marrying you. At this, Ji Xuan says, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. Mrs. Lu immediately says, Lu Sung, take her to the doctor right away for a proper checkup. Nothing should happen to my grandson. Lu Xing then escorts Ji Xuan away. Mrs. Lu turns to Gia saying, Lu Xing and Ji Xuan are meant for each other. A girl then chimes in, why don't you leave the Lu family? Anyway, your world and ours are separate. Suddenly, Gia begins to bleed, and just then, her brother Han arrives. As he approaches her, Gia says, please take me away from here. Han helps her up and starts to take her out, and Lu Xing notices. Another girl sees their car driving away and remarks, that's a car from the Xiang family. Mrs. Lu responds, yes, that's why she wants a divorce from my son. It seems she seduced the young master of the Xiang family. In the next scene, Gia wakes up in the Xiang family home, where her 2 brothers are standing by her side. She says to them, I missed you both so much. Her father then enters and says, you didn't contact us for 3 years. Lu Xing saved you once, and you married him in return. Now look at what he's done to you. Gia apologizes. I'm sorry, Dad, I was wrong. Is my baby okay? Her father shakes his head. Gia, looking down, whispers to her lost child, I'm so sorry. I couldn't save you. Han tries to console her, saying, look at it this way. You can now keep your distance from Lu Xing. Her father then says, your birthday is in 2 days and we're organizing a party for you. Gia replies, Dad, I'm not in the mood for a party right now. Her father insists, you're back home after so many years. Many of your uncles and aunts haven't even seen you. They should know how beautiful my daughter is. Gia then hugs him. Soon, several maids brought her a variety of accessories. Seeing them, Gia says to her brother, "Why did you buy so many accessories for me?" Her second brother, Joe, says, "You're the daughter of the Xiang family, the richest family in the city. If you want, I can buy you all the brands in the world. Just pick what you like." Gia replies, "Even though our family is wealthy, we shouldn't waste money like this." Han responds, "Gia, you're our life. If we don't take care of you, then who will?" In the next scene, several women arrive with dresses for her to choose from. After that, she gets ready for her birthday party. In the next scene, Shing has also arrived at the party with his family because they received an invitation. Looking at the decorations, Shing's cousin Shui remarks, "I heard the Xiang family spent $1 million just to book this place to celebrate Miss Xiang's birthday." Hearing this, Mrs. Lu tells Shing, "You should look for a chance to talk to Miss Xiang. Imagine if she starts to like you, then the Xiang family would also become ours." Shui quietly adds, "Don't forget, Ji Xuan is also here." Mrs. Lu thinks to herself, "If Miss Xiang likes my son, then I wouldn't need Ji Xuan." Lu Sheng then reminds them, "This dinner could help us qualify for that show, so everyone needs to be careful," and they proceed inside. Meanwhile, Gia says to her brother, "Why did you choose the lakeside for my birthday? This place is meant for couples to go on dates." Han replies, "Then you should blame your second brother for that. He's the one who picked this location." Joe smiles and says, "It's the most beautiful spot in the city. Come on, it's time to join the party." In the next scene, everyone watches fireworks. Shui exclaims, "Wow, Miss Xiang is so lucky." Another woman adds, "Yes, Miss Xiang was away from home for 3 years, so her brother spent $1 million on fireworks for her return." Mrs. Lu then asks, "Where has Miss Xiang been all these years?" Lu Sheng thinks to himself, "Today is Gia's birthday too." Just then, he spots Miss Gia with her brothers, though he can't see her face clearly. When she turns around, Ji Xuan exclaims, "That's Gia!" Shui sneers, "How can Gia be here? She's just a village girl." "Oh, I see. She must have seduced the young master." Ji Xuan adds, "The man standing beside her is the one who came to pick her up." Lu Xing thinks to himself, "Our divorce isn't even official yet, and this woman couldn't wait to spend the night with another man." Gia then approaches, and Lu Xing walks up to her, asking, "What are you doing here?" Han interjects, "Your divorce with Gia is already finalized. From now on, Gia will be part of the Xiang family." Lu Xing protests, "We haven't even taken the divorce certificate yet, so you're still my wife." "Please, don't embarrass the Lu family." Gia replies, "When you cheated on your wife, did you think about my reputation?" Han then says, "The Lu family has a bad character, even though the quality of their products is terrible. You have no qualifications to join the Xiang family, so what are you doing here at this party?" Shui snaps back, "Who are you to question our qualifications to be here?" "Gia, it looks like your new lover is overprotective, bringing you to Miss Xiang's party." Gia retorts, "I can come here whenever I want. I don't need anyone to bring me." Shui says, "I need to teach you a lesson. Last time you tried to hurt Ji Xuan's baby, and now you've seduced these two handsome men." Furious, Han warns, "Shut up or I'll throw you out of here myself." Ji Xuan adds, "You seduced these two boys to get into this party. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the status to be here." Han then announces to everyone, "I'm making an announcement. From now on, no one will collaborate with the Lu family." Ji Xuan scoffs, "Do you think you're the CEO of Xiang Group who can cancel our cooperation?" Just then, Han's assistant arrives and says, "The party is about to begin." Shocked, they all realize that Han is indeed the young master of the Xiang family. In the following scene, Han's guards escort the Lu family out. Mrs. Lu protests, "How dare you? Do you know I'm the mother of the CEO of Lu Group?" Then the man says, "Whoever you are, you've offended Mr. Zhang." After that, they all leave. In the next scene, they're at home, and Mrs. Lu says, "How dare she try to seduce the young master of the Zhang family?" Shui responds, "Mom, don't worry. They'll use her for a few days and then leave her, and then I'll teach her a lesson." Hearing this, Lu Xing, very angry, comes over and says, "I told you all to keep quiet there. Was it necessary to insult Gia? She worked hard for you all for 3 years." Mrs. Lu replies, "So what? She cheated on you, so how could I just let her go?" At that moment, Jizwan tells him, "Lu Xing, Auntie did everything for your sake." First, look at this. It's an invitation letter from the famous designer Wang Qing, and I've heard that Miss Zhang will be there too. Hearing this, Shui says, "If the Zhang family will be there, we should take advantage of the opportunity. We need to build a good relationship with them so we can qualify for that show." We then see a flashback scene where, after Gia leaves home, Ji Xuan goes into Zia's room, saying, "This girl has too many nice clothes. I'll throw them all out to erase every memory of her." She starts throwing out the clothes and then finds the invitation letter. Mrs. Lu says, "Once we enter the Zhang family, our sales will increase tremendously." Then Shui asks Lu Xing, "When are you going to get a marriage certificate with Jizhuan? You shouldn't wait until this baby is born." Lu Xing replies, "We'll talk about it later, and I'm warning you all, stop bullying Gia." Hearing this, Jizhuan thinks to herself, what's suddenly gotten into Lu Xing? When did he start caring about Gia so much? Lu Xing then leaves and has a flashback where Gia tells him, "Stand there, I'll take a picture of you." He goes to pose, but then realizes Gia has suddenly disappeared. Another memory surface where Gia says, "I loved you with all my heart for 3 years, cared for your family, and endured their torment, but in return, you cheated on me." Reflecting on this, he thinks, we've been married for 3 years. Maybe this is how she's felt all this time. In the next scene, Lu Xing and Jizhuan attend a popular designer Wang Qing's party. A security guard asks them to show their invitation, and Jizhuan shows the one she stole. As they go inside, some people comment, "Lu Xing looks quite handsome. Who's this girl with him? I heard Mr. Lu is already married." Another person says, "She must be his wife." At that moment, Gia arrives, shocking Lu Xing. Jizhuan says to her, "It mustn't have been easy for you to get into Miss Wang Qing's party." Gia responds, "Yes, it's not easy. Only those invited by Miss Wang Qing herself or representing a top brand are allowed here. But you're neither of those, so I imagine it was difficult for you to get in." Jizhuan replies, "Everyone here knows Lu Xing is the CEO of the Lu company, so stop with your nonsense. I want to ask you, what's your status? Are you a VIP customer of his? You sold yourself to a rich man, and Miss Wang Qing hates shameless people like you." At this, Lu Heng says, "Please be quiet. Miss Wang Qing will be arriving soon, and you don't want to leave a bad impression on her." Then some people start whispering, "If she's really a village girl, where did she get the tickets for this party?" Jizhuan says to Lu Xing, "I wanted to treat her politely, but she's the one being rude to me." At that moment, the famous designer Wang Qing arrives. When she sees Gia, she quickly approaches her and says, "Master, you're here!" "You didn't even greet me." Gia replies, "Why are you calling me master? I'm not that old." Wang Qing responds, "But you hold such a high status in my heart that I called you master out of respect." Then Wang Qing turns to Jizhuan and asks, "Who are you?" Jizhuan answers, "I'm the daughter of the CEO of the Meng Group, and my name is Jizhuan." But Wang Qing doesn't shake hands with her and says, "Your name isn't on my guest list, so where did you get the invitation? I didn't invite you, so please leave." Lu Xing says to her, "We came here with an invitation, and I heard the daughter of the Xiang family is coming today. I'd like you to introduce me to her." Wang Qing replies, "All right, I don't want to kick you out, Mr. Lu. You can stay, but Jishuan will have to leave." Jishuan says, "I'm Mr. Lu's fiancé, so why are you sending me away?" Wang Qing replies, "I let Mr. Lu stay here because he's very handsome and his style is impeccable, but I can't stand looking at the clothes you're wearing, so please leave." Watching all this, Gia thinks to herself, Wang Qing is so funny. She started flirting as soon as she saw a handsome man. Lu Xing then says to Wang Qing, "You shouldn't insult anyone like this." Wang Qing replies, "Your fiancé was trying to insult my master in front of everyone. I actually want to insult her even more, but I'm sparing her out of respect for the Lu family." Gia then says to her, "Let it go. Everyone here is a guest today, and I didn't take what Ji Xuan said to heart." She was telling the truth. I do come from a poor background. In the next scene, Gia is drinking with Wang Qing when Wang Qing says to her, "I have to deal with something right now, so you go ahead and enjoy." And then she leaves. Jishuan approaches Gia and says, "Lu Xing has divorced you, but you still won't leave him alone. Try as much as you want. It won't matter. After all, he said he only wants my baby." Hearing this, Gia slaps her twice and says, "Don't cross the line. If you come to me with this nonsense again, 2 slaps won't be enough." Jishuan then notices a bracelet on Gia's hand and says, "This bracelet must be a gift from Lu Xing. There's no way you could afford it." Gia replies, "Yes, Lu Xing has a lot of money, so why didn't he give you this bracelet instead?" Jishuan then tries to snatch the bracelet from Gia's hand, causing Jishuan to fall. Lu Xing comes over and helps her up, and Jishuan says to him, "Gia wants to kill our baby. She thinks if her baby died, then ours shouldn't live either." Lu Xing is shocked and asks Gia, "What baby is she talking about? Were you pregnant?" But Gia avoids his question and says to Jishuan, "If you're sick, go to the hospital and get treated. Are you sure I pushed you?" Jishuan says, "If I didn't push myself, did I?" Lu Xing, "She pushed me." Gia says, all right, but if I find any evidence, I'll file a case against you. Jixuan then says, I know you're mad that Lu Xing loves me. Gia replies, I'm not mad at you. I actually want to thank you. Because of you, I was able to get out of this relationship. Otherwise, I'd still be suffering. She then picks up the broken bracelet and says to Jixuan, if you don't mind, buy yourself a bracelet, and starts to walk away. Just then, Jixuan pushes her, but Lu Xing catches her, although his clothes get stained with wine. He angrily looks at Jixuan and then walks off to clean his clothes. Then Gia telling her, you wanted to meet the daughter of the Xiang family, right? Well, she's standing right in front of you, but you can't even recognize her. Jixuan replies, so you're saying that you're the daughter of the Xiang family? Do you even know what the identity of the Xiang family's daughter is supposed to be like? You're just a village girl. Gia says, believe it or not, I don't care, and then walks away. In the next scene, Jixuan goes to Lu Xing and says, I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. Let's go to Miss Wang Qing and tell her that you're the president of the Lu group. If you tell her, she'll definitely agree. Then, the two of them go to Wang Qing. Jixuan begins, I want to get straight to the point. If you help us meet the Xiang family's daughter, we're willing to pay you. Hearing this, Wang Qing replies, it looks like Mr. Lu's future wife is quite rich. Well, I want $1 million for this job. Jixuan responds, that's way too much. Wang Qing then says, you're the future wife of the president of the Lu group, and you're afraid of a little money? If you can't give me the money, I won't help you. After all, you offended my master, so I can't introduce you to Miss Xiang. With that, she leaves. After she goes, Jixuan says, Gia must have told her something bad about us, which is why she doesn't want to help us. Lu Xing then says, after the reception, I'll speak to Gia myself. Jixuan replies, she'll never help us. Right then, Wang Qing addresses the crowd. Welcome to this party, everyone. Today, I've invited some of the top dancers from around the world, including Miss Xiang, the daughter of the Xiang family. Then, Gia arrives and starts dancing, but she's wearing a mask on her face. Seeing her, Lu Xing thinks to himself, she looks a lot like Gia. At that moment, Gia's mask falls, and both of them are shocked to see her. She quickly leaves the stage. Jixuan, shocked, thinks to herself, could Gia really be the daughter of the Xiang family? In the next scene, Lu Xing approaches Gia and asks, are you really the daughter of the Xiang family? Why didn't you tell me? At this point, Wang Qing interjects, the Xiang family's daughter had a fever today, so I asked Gia to attend this dance. Hearing this, Jixuan thinks to herself, I knew it. How could Gia be the daughter of the Xiang family? Then, Lu Xing starts to put his jacket on Gia, but she brushes it away and says, are you out of your mind? You still want to put your jacket on me? I know you like girls like Jixuan, but I'm sorry, I'm not like her. And now that we're divorced, whatever your ex-wife does shouldn't matter to you. Lu Xing replies, what are you doing after leaving me? And why are you wearing a dress like that? Don't you have any shame? How could you let that guy touch you like that? Gia says, maybe that guy has fallen for me. And if you don't like me, why do you want to control my life? It would be better if you stop bothering me and go to your fiancé. Lu Xing says, if you're angry with her, talk to me, but please don't behave like this. I want you to ask Wang Qing to introduce us to the daughter of the Xiang family. But are you refusing to help us just to take revenge? Gia says, I never thought about revenge. Even if you marry Jixuan or 10 other girls, it wouldn't matter to me because I hate you, and you're the most useless person in the world to me. Then she walks away. In the next scene, we see Han, who has also arrived at the party. When Gia arrives, Han says to her, I'm sorry I was late because of work. Lu Xing didn't cause any problems for you again, did he? Gia says, no. Then Wang Qing says to her, you're the daughter of the Xiang family, so why didn't you tell them? Gia responds, you've asked me this 100 times. I didn't tell them because if the Lu family finds out I'm the daughter of the Xiang family, they'll never let me go. In the next scene, we see Lu Xing at home when he gets a call from his friend, who says, I want to invite you to a charity auction. Please don't reject this offer without listening to me. After all, your grandpa's birthday is coming up in a few days, and you probably haven't prepared a gift for him yet. Lu Xing says, okay, send me the address. In the following scene, we see Jixuan's mother looking at a necklace and thinking to herself, this necklace is so beautiful. I could sell it for a very good price. Just then, Jixuan comes and takes the necklace from her hand, saying, Lu Xing gave me this necklace as a gift, so why do you want to sell it? Her mother responds, because we need to get our company to collaborate with the Xiang group, and we're going to a charity auction where I can sell it and make some money since Mr. Lu's birthday is coming up. Then Jixuan recalls a flashback in which Lu Xing is in a hospital. She takes a photo with him, and when he wakes up, she says, "You were sweating a lot while you were sleeping, so I took off your shirt. I hope you don't mind." Lu Xing says, "Please don't do that again. Someone might misunderstand." Then he asks, "Where did you get that necklace?" Jixuan replies, "I found it in your jacket, and I loved it. I know that even after 10 years, you still like me. Otherwise, why would you buy such an expensive necklace for me?" Lu Xing says, "Whether I love you or not, you know very well." After remembering all this, Jixuan tells her mother, Lu Xing will be so upset when he finds out about this. Her mother replies, "So what if he finds out? He's not stingy," and Jixuan gives her the necklace. In the next scene, we see Han comes up to Gia and says, "Guess what I have?" Jixuan pawned her necklace at our shop. He shows her a photo of the necklace, and Gia thinks to herself, "I thought Lu Xing bought this for me, but he gave it to his mistress and she pawned it." Han asks, "What are you thinking?" Gia says, "I'm thinking that this necklace has a very high resale price, but they sold it for just $7 million. Han then says, "There's a charity auction this week. Would you go there instead of me?" Gia replies, "What should I go as? Your girlfriend or the president of the Xiang group?" Han says, "You'll go as the general manager of the Xiang group. This way, your identity will remain hidden," and Gia agrees to go. The scene then shifts to the charity auction, where Lu Xing is with the owner of the event. Jixuan also arrives with her mother, and the media sees them and comments, "The Meng family is here, but why isn't Jixuan with Mr. Lu?" Hearing this, her mother says, "When Lu Xing arrives, he'll be with Jixuan." A reporter responds, "But we just saw him enter." Ignoring the reporters, they head inside. In the next scene, the charity auction owner says to Lu Xing, "Your fiancé and mother are here too. Are you going to meet them?" Lu Xing gives him an angry look. Lu Xing replies, "I want to buy that royal chair." His friend says, "Yes, that's exactly what I was talking to you about the other day. If you give it to your grandpa as a birthday gift, he'll love it. But be careful, it might slip out of your hands during the bidding." Lu Xing says, "There's no need for bidding. I'll buy it at any cost," and his friend agrees to it. In the next scene, a lady compliments Mrs. Lu. "Your bag looks beautiful." Mrs. Lu says, "My future daughter-in-law gave it to me." At that moment, Jixuan and her mother arrive, and Shui says, "Jixuan, you look so beautiful today." Right then, Gia also arrives, and seeing her, Mrs. Lu says, "I didn't expect someone like you to come to this event. This charity event is only for rich people." Gia says, "There are many things in this world you've never seen. Just because you didn't expect it doesn't mean it's impossible." Mrs. Lu responds, "I've never seen a talkative girl like you." Then, Jixuan's mom tells Gia, "We don't mind you being here, but please don't interfere in Jixuan and Lu Xing's relationship." Laughing, Gia says, "Why would I interfere in their relationship?" She then shows them her marriage certificate and says, "You all can clearly see that my divorce with Lu Xing isn't finalized yet. So, is it right for a mistress to interfere in our relationship?" She then leaves. In the next scene, the charity auction starts, and Lu Xing arrives with his friend, Mr. Shen. Seeing him, some girls say, "Lu Xing is so handsome. He looks just like an idol. No wonder Jixuan is crazy about him." Another girl replies, "Yes, but she doesn't deserve such a good guy." The first girl then says, "I heard Mr. Lu divorced his wife." The other girl adds, "Poor ex-wife. Anyway, looking at Jixuan, I bet he'll dump her too in 2 years." Just then, Jixuan arrives with her mom and says, "Mom, Lu Xing is sitting in the front row. I want to sit beside him." She starts walking over, but a manager stops her saying, "All seats are fixed, so you can't sit next to him." Jixuan says, "You're going to stop me? Do you even know who I am?" The manager replies, "Yes, you're Mr. Lu's girlfriend, but all seats here are pre-assigned. Even if you were his wife, you still couldn't sit there." Apologizing, she walks inside and sits at the back. A little later, Gia arrives, and Lu Xing is shocked to see her. His friend Shen says, "Wow, she's beautiful. I deserve her." Lu Xing replies, "She's my wife, so please don't think like that, though she's about to become my ex-wife." Shen says, "Are you blind or stupid? This girl is 100 times better than Jixuan." Gia then goes and sits in the front row. A host welcomes everyone, saying, "Welcome to the charity auction. First, we'll be bidding on an ancient painting with a starting price of $1 million. Everyone starts bidding, and Gia says, "I'll offer $5 million. Seeing this, Jixuan raises her price, finally offering $10 million. Gia doesn't increase her bid as she knew the painting wasn't worth that much. Shen then tells Lu Xing, I bought this painting for just $1 million, and now I've sold it for $10 million. I made a huge profit. I don't know if I should thank your ex-wife or your future wife. Looking at Gia, Jixuan says, you must have wanted to buy this painting to show me up, but I'll never let you win. A man nearby says, this girl must be rich to spend $10 million on a painting. A woman replies, she's rich, but she seems to lack sense. That painting wasn't worth that much. Next, they start bidding on a royal chair that Lu Xing wants to buy for his grandpa, with a starting price of $30 million. Gia offers $60 million, and Shui asks her mom, Mom, did we hear that right? Mrs. Lu says, where would this village girl get $60 million? Lu Xing and Gia keep raising the bid until Gia buys it for $100 million. Then, they auction a necklace, the one Jixuan had sold. Lu Xing is shocked to see it and glares at Jixuan. Jixuan tells her mom, Mom, what's going on? How did this necklace get here? Didn't you say you sold it? Her mom replies, yes, I sold it. I don't know how it's here. Jixuan says, Lu Xing is sitting right in the front. If he sees this necklace here, he'll be furious. Her mom reassures her, don't worry, it's not like there's only one necklace like this in the world. There could be another one just like it. Jixuan replies, no, it was one of a kind, and I already told you Lu Xing gave it to me as a gift. Lu Xing then tells his friend, stop the bidding. That item is mine. Gia leaves for the restroom and starts fixing her makeup. Jixuan walks in and accuses her, saying, you did this, didn't you? Gia says, why do you keep coming in front of me to cause trouble? Can't you behave with some discipline? Jixuan says, you must have placed that necklace there. Lu Xing gifted it to me, yet you brought it to the auction. Do you have any discipline? Gia says, I'm just donating what's mine. What's wrong with that? She starts to leave, but Jixuan grabs her bracelet and says, I've wanted this bracelet ever since I saw it. She then breaks it. A little girl witnesses the incident as Jixuan uses the broken bracelet to cut her own hand and leaves. Gia thinks to herself, Jixuan, you'll go to any lengths to humiliate me. She calls her brother and asks, brother, please help me investigate Jixuan. Meanwhile, Jixuan goes to her mom, her hand bleeding. Her mom asks, what happened to your hand? Who hurt you? Just then, Lu Xing arrives, and Jixuan tells him, I just met Gia in the restroom. I tried to help her, but Miss Gia apparently didn't like it. When I tried to leave, she held me back, broke her bracelet, and cut my hand in anger. Gia then enters, and Mrs. Lu says, how dare you hurt Jixuan? Now see what Lu Xing will do to you. Shen intervenes, saying, wait. There must be some misunderstanding. Jixuan's mom says, there's no misunderstanding. My daughter would never cut herself. Lu Xing asks Gia, did you do this? Gia replies, yes. Lu Xing asks her again, I'm asking you one more time, did you do this? Jixuan interrupts, what do you mean? She already admitted it, but you're still confirming with her. Lu Xing then tells Gia, apologize to her. Instead of apologizing, Gia slaps Jixuan, saying, I slapped you for breaking my bracelet. My grandpa gave me that bracelet. How dare you break it? Lu Xing says, Gia, this is too much. She's a pregnant woman. Gia retorts, from now on, Jixuan and I are enemies, and I'll treat her just like she treated my bracelet. Shen notices her bleeding hand and bandages it, saying, your hand is bleeding. He takes her to the hospital. Just then, the little girl appears and tells everyone, pretty sister didn't do anything. This wild girl did it all. Shui says, where did you come from? And what nonsense are you talking about? No one else was in the restroom except those two. The little girl goes to Lu Xing and says, brother, I saw everything with my own eyes. I saw this bad aunt fighting with pretty auntie. She snatched her bracelet and cut her own hand. I saw it all clearly. Jixuan, shocked, says, Lu Xing, she's just a child. She must have seen something wrong. Lu Xing asks her, so Gia didn't hurt you, right? Jixuan, unable to answer, pretends to faint. In the next scene, Lu Xing goes into her ward and says, I want to ask you something, but Mrs. Lu tells him, Jixuan just regained consciousness. If you have something to say it later. Lu Xing, however, insists, I need answers to my questions right now. Jixuan replies, I don't know where that necklace came from. Lu Xing responds, that's not what I'm asking. Jixuan retorts, oh, so you think I hurt Gia? Lu Xing, we've been friends since childhood, but you trust your ex-wife more than me. Lu Xing tells her, children never lie. That child said Gia didn't even touch you. Mrs. Lu chimes in, that child is very young. She must have misunderstood. Lu Xing turns to Jihuan, tell me the truth. Why did you do this? Jihuan claims, I didn't do anything. Lu Xing warns her. I already told you not to cause trouble for Gia again, but you don't seem to understand. He begins to leave, with Ji Duan following, but then she falls. In the next scene, Lu Xing is drinking, talking to himself. Gia, is this all my fault? But what about your affair with Han? Just then, his maid comes in and says, this gift was delivered to the door. It says to give it to your wife. He looks at it and finds the same necklace, which his friend had sent back. He tells his maid, throw it out. Later, at a bar with his friend, Shen remarks, you shouldn't have kept a mistress. Lu Xing responds, you didn't need to get so close to Gia. Shen explains, I only helped her because she's your wife. Anyway, I wanted to ask you something. Why are you marrying Ji Juan when Miss Gia is much more beautiful? Lu Xing explains, actually, Ji Juan and I have been in a relationship for a long time, but that child isn't mine. It's my brother's, who passed away. By the way, I don't understand why Gia admitted everything. She could have just explained she didn't hurt Ji-wan. Then Shen gets a call and heads to his company. Lu Xing tries calling Gia but learns she's changed her number. So he calls the Xiang group, where Gia now works, saying, I need to speak with Miss Gia. Her brother answers, she's not available and I know what happened at the charity auction. It would be best if you respected your boundaries. I'm reminding you one last time. You should focus on your fiancé, not Gia. With that, he hangs up. In the next scene, Lu Xing's assistant suggests we should call the police. How can Han keep Miss Gia with him? Your divorce process isn't even complete yet. Legally, she's still your wife. Lu Xing replies, I'll go to the Xiang group myself. Later, Gia is in her office and tells Han, it feels different to be in the president's office. Han says, I need to tell you something. Lu Xing called last night. He said he had something important to discuss with you, but I told him not to call. Meanwhile, Lu Xing arrives at the Xiang group and tells the manager, I need to see Miss Gia. The manager denies him entry, but Lu Xing forces his way in, knocking on the president's office door. Gia tells Han, don't let him in. Han tells Lu Xing, I don't have time to meet anyone right now, but Lu Xing forces his way in and, seeing Gia there, asks her, are you really the president of the Lu group? Gia replies, how did you barge in here? Lu Xing responds, don't change the topic. Han then says to him, Mr. Lu, let me remind you that your divorce with Gia is complete. Whether she's president of the Lu group or not is no concern of yours. Lu Xing retorts, Mr. Jiang, you're very generous, making your lover the president. He then turns to Gia, I didn't come here to argue. Just give me your phone number so I can contact you for business in the future. Gia replies, I have no intention of doing business with you, so please leave. Lu Xing reminds her, don't forget that in a few days it's my grandpa's birthday party. It would be best if you behaved properly there. With that, he leaves. Gia thinks to herself, in a few days, it's Lu Xing's grandpa's birthday. Grandpa has always cared for me. I should prepare a gift for him. In the next scene, we see Grandpa's birthday party. Shui asks Ji Xuan, what gift are you planning to give Grandpa? Ji Xuan answers, I'm giving him that ancient painting I bought at the charity event. Shui replies, that's quite expensive. By the way, I heard Grandpa invited Gia too. I wonder why he cares about her so much. Let's see what she brings for him today. Just then, Mrs. Lu arrives and tells Ji Xuan, you need to behave well in front of Grandpa today so that he'll like you too. Just then, Gia enters, and Mrs. Lu says, so you came too. May I ask under what identity you're here? Grandpa arrives and says, she's my granddaughter-in-law. I want to see who dares bully her in front of me. He takes Gia's hand to place it in Lu Xing's, but Lu Xing says, Grandpa, we're getting a divorce. Mrs. Lu then tells Grandpa, because Gia is having an affair with the CEO of the Xiang group. Both of them are in love with someone else now, so please don't force them. Grandpa tells Lu Xing, I don't know what happened between you two, but you'll bring Gia back. Gia apologizes to Grandpa. I'm sorry, Grandpa, I didn't tell you sooner. Grandpa replies, it's okay, I just want to see you happy. Ji-wan then presents her gift to Grandpa. I've prepared a birthday gift for you. I hope you like it. She shows him the ancient painting. Grandpa says, this is quite nice. But then Gia interjects, this is a fake painting. Angrily, Ji-wan says, are you joking with me? I spent $10 million on this. How could it be fake? Gia responds, $10 million? This painting isn't even worth $100. It's not an ancient painting. Ji-wan retorts, what do you mean? You wanted to buy it too. If it's fake, why were you bidding on it? Or were you trying to trick me? Gia explains, you must be mistaken. Maybe you didn't know Grandpa already has the original painting. I wanted to buy this replica to remind him of that time. Then I saw how much effort you were putting into getting it, so I gave up. I didn't realize you thought it was the real one. If it's a problem, I'll buy it from you, so that you're compensated for your loss. Seeing all this, Mrs. Lu tells Ji-wan, I just got a call from your mom. She said something happened at home, so you should go back. Ji-yuan leaves, calling a man outside and saying, "Help me make a deal with a girl." Meanwhile, Gia tells Grandpa, "I bought this ancient chair for you from the charity event." Grandpa says, "Then it must be quite expensive." Shui tells him, "Grandpa, you should accept it. Gia put a lot of effort into buying it." Afterward, Lusing thinks to himself, "Gia, you've kept so many things from me that I don't even know." In the next scene, we see Gia heading to the restroom when she slips. Lusing catches her and she asks, "Why did you catch me?" Lusing says, "Because you were about to fall and I got here just in time." Gia remarks, "I would have rather fallen to the floor and broken my teeth than let you take advantage of it." Lusing responds, "When have I ever taken advantage of you? And yes, I do want to, but I'm willing to wait." Gia replies, "You seem to be forgetting we're divorced. I'm just a village girl you don't like." Then Lusing said to her, "I need to know your real identity. Why do you keep lying to me?" Gia replied, "It's only because of your selfishness that I began to hate you, and I don't have any expectations from you anymore." Lusing said, "Haven't I always treated you well? If you don't like me, then who do you like?" Gia responded, "Our divorce is final, so there's no point in asking these questions now." Lusing asked, "Do you really like Han?" Gia replied, "Yes." Lusing said, "I know you don't like him. You're just with him to make me jealous and to get me to agree to the divorce. You like him enough to stay with someone you don't love?" Gia replied, "I'm very happy with him." Then Lusing said, "Why didn't I see your two-faced nature before? Marrying you was the biggest mistake of my life." Gia replied, "No worries. All this will end soon," and she left. In the next scene, we see a man following Gia. Frightened, Gia asked, "Lusing, is that you? Our divorce is final. What do you want now?" Just then, a masked man appeared and attacked her with a knife, but Lusing stepped in, taking the stab for her. Crying, Gia said, "Lusing, are you okay? Who told you to step in?" Just then, Zia's second brother, Xiang, arrived, and she told him to call an ambulance. Lusing said, "I'm sorry, Zia." Zia replied, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been so cruel to you." Lusing said, "There's no need to blame yourself." Zia replied, "You'll be okay. I won't let you suffer." In the next scene, we see Lusing in the hospital with Zia caring for him. She said, "Lusing, you've always disliked me. Why did you risk your life for me?" Saying this, she began to leave, but Lusing held her hand, and they accidentally shared a kiss. Zia said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that," and turned to leave. Lusing said, "Please don't go." Zia replied, "The doctor said you're injured and need rest." Then she asked for his phone password, which he said was her birth date. Zia unlocked his phone and said, "I've saved my number in here. If you need anything, call me." Then she asked his assistant to take care of him and left. Afterward, the assistant informed Lusing, "Miss Zia just transferred $8 million from your account." Shocked, Lusing asked, "Whom did she transfer so much money to? Go find out." The assistant agreed and left. Meanwhile, outside, Xiang noticed Zia and said, "Zia, are you okay? Do you have a fever? Why does your face look so red?" Zia replied, "I was just feeling a bit hot." Xiang then said, "I didn't expect Lusing would risk his life to save you. Maybe he still loves you. Anyway, the important thing is that you're okay. If anything happened to you, I wouldn't know how to explain it to Dad and our brother." Zia replied, "I think there's a mastermind behind this incident. A few days ago, I asked you to investigate Ziwan. Did you find anything?" Xiang showed her photos of Ziwan romantically involved with another man. Shocked, Zia said, "That's Lusing's second brother. Where did you get these photos?" Xiang replied, "Zihuan has 100 followers on Instagram. I spent 3 days checking them all and found this guy suspicious, so I hacked his account and found these pictures. He's Zihuan's fitness trainer and has a lot of fans." In the next scene, we see them confronting the trainer, and Xiang explained, "He's a gambler who owes a lot of people money." Zia said, "So that's why Zihuan contacted him, to arrange a murder in exchange for money." Zia grabbed the man who pleaded, "Miss, I know I made a mistake. Please, let me go." Zia said, "First, I have some questions for you." The trainer replied, "Ask away. I'll tell you everything truthfully." Zia asked, "What's your relationship with Ziwan?" The trainer replied, "I'm her personal trainer. Gradually, we grew close because Ziwan seduced me, and I'm the father of her baby." Shocked, Zia said, "Are you saying it's not Lusing's baby?" The trainer replied, "No, we were abroad then, but after returning to China, she left me and went to Mr. Lu." Zia thought to herself, "Lusing, even your mistress has finally cheated on you." Just then, the trainer received a call from Zihuan. Gia instructed him, "Tell her you completed her task. If you try anything clever, it won't end well for you." The trainer answered the call, and Zihuan asked, "Did you make a deal with Zia?" The trainer replied, "Yes, I've sent her to the ICU." Zihuan replied, "Good. It would be best if she spent the rest of her life in the ICU. I've paid you half already, and I'll give you the rest after my wedding with Xing." She then hung up. Zia then told the trainer, "You'll have to stay here for a few days. We'll ask you to cooperate again later." Saying this, they left. Outside, Xiang asked Zia, "Is Xing really that stupid? Zihuan's marrying him for money, and he has no idea. Why don't you reveal your identity to him and teach him a lesson?" Zia replied, "I'll expose my identity at the fashion show happening in 2 days. Send invitations to Xing and the Mang family." In the next scene, we see Xing asking his assistant, "How's the investigation going?" The assistant replied, "We've been trying to track down the man who attacked you for a long time, but found nothing. By the way, I think Zihuan is behind all this, as she made a money transfer yesterday." Hearing this, Xing thought to himself, "Zihuan, I hope it wasn't you." Afterward, we see the fashion show scene, where Shui told her mom, "The Jiang group invited us to this fashion show, while even big fashion industries aren't allowed to attend." Then Zihuan's mom said, "We should finalize Zihuan and Xing's wedding date soon." Mrs. Liu replied, "Yes, let's discuss this after the fashion show." Just then, a man said, "Who allowed the Mang family here? They don't even have any qualifications." Hearing this, Zihuan said, "Who said we don't have qualifications?" In the next scene, we see Xing arriving at the show with his friend Shen, who said, "Why did the Jiang family invite us here? Could this invitation be from Zia?" Xing replied, "Why are you calling her by her name?" Mang replied, "You already have a mistress, so what difference does it make if I address her by name?" Xing replied, "Zihuan and I have nothing to do with each other. She was pregnant with my brother's baby, so I stayed with her, but I didn't expect her to hurt Zia." They entered, and Zihuan approached Xing, but he pushed her hand away. In the next scene, Zia walked onto the stage and said, "Welcome everyone to the Jiang Group fashion show." Seeing her, Shen remarked, "Wow, she looks so beautiful." Meanwhile, Zihuan thought, "She was supposed to be in the ICU. How can she be here?" Then a man commented, "This girl is so beautiful. I wonder what her relation is to the Jiang family. I've never seen her before." Shui then said to Zia, "Do you know only heads of big fashion industries are allowed here? What qualifies you to be here? You're just a village girl." Then Zia replied, "I don't engage with people like you who have no sense of fashion." At that moment, Mrs. Liu said, "I'm sorry, Miss Zia. We completely forgot that you're Mr. Han's mistress, which is probably why they let you attend such a major event." Hearing this, everyone started mocking Zia, saying, "So, she's the Jiang family's mistress. How can a mistress host such a big show? It'll insult all of us." Then another man said, "But she doesn't look like she's from a small family." Zia replied, "You all labeled me a mistress, but I'm here as the general manager of the Jiang group." Hearing this, Zihuan said, "I know you've been upset since Xing left you, but at least don't embarrass yourself in front of everyone. You'll never be the general manager of the Jiang group, so please think before you speak. Mr. Han will leave you in a few days anyway." Then she called security. But just then, Zia's dad, Mr. Jiang, arrived and said, "Who dares to bully my daughter?" Mrs. Liu then said, "Mr. Jiang, thank goodness you arrived on time. This girl is claiming to be the general manager of Jiang Group." Then Zihuan said, "This girl is a poor village girl. She's even seduced Mr. Han. Don't believe a word she says." Mr. Jiang called Zia over, shocking everyone. Then Jiang said to them, "How dare you speak rudely to my sister?" Seeing this, Zihuan said, "She's Xing's ex-wife. How can she be your sister?" Xing thought to himself, "So, the one who's been taking care of my family for the past 3 years is actually the Jiang family's daughter." Then he went to Zia and asked, "Why did you hide your identity from me? We've been married for 3 years." Zia replied, "Yes, I'm the daughter of the Jiang family, and I've never appeared in public before today. I kept my identity hidden to avoid unnecessary trouble." Hearing this, Xing was shocked. Then Zihuan said, "Zia, I don't care how rich your family is, but whatever you do, Xing has already moved on from you." Zia replied, "When you were abroad, you changed your name to Enshi. So why are you so scared to hear that name now?" Zihuan said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard that name." Gia said, "You can change your name and erase all evidence, but what you've done will be exposed to everyone." Saying this, she clapped, and just then, everyone's phones received a message with a photo of Zihuan in a romantic moment with that trainer. Seeing it, everyone was shocked. Zihuan's mom shouted, "Who did this? Delete these photos right now." Just then, the trainer appeared and said, "Why delete them? Zihuan is pregnant with my baby." But then she went to Mr. Lusing. Zihuan told security to kick him out, but Lusing stopped them. Zihuan said, "Lusing, someone's framing me. I don't know who this man is. I'll file a case against you and call the police to have you arrested right now." The trainer replied, "Fine, I'll file a case too. I have the DNA reports of the baby. You can see for yourself." After this, Lusing said to Zihuan, "How dare you do this? You told me this baby was my brother's, which is why I put up with you all this time. But it turns out it's someone else's baby." Zihuan pleaded, "No, please don't believe him." Lusing slapped her, making her fall, and then some police officers arrived to take Zihuan and the trainer away. Zihuan's mom fainted, and some people took her to the hospital. Afterward, Mrs. Lu and Shui covered their faces and left in shame. In the next scene, Zia's dad announced, "This is my daughter Zia who will be hosting this event, and I'm giving her a new opportunity. Starting tomorrow, she will be the chairwoman of Xiang Group." Hearing this, Zia said, "Dad, there was no need for this." Her dad replied, "You're the only daughter of Xiang Group, and you deserve this position, so I'm giving it to you." After that, Zia told everyone, "You can rest for a while. The fashion show will start shortly." In the next scene, Zia was resting when Lusing arrived with flowers and tried to cover her with his jacket. But Zia stopped him, saying, "I don't need your clothes." Lusing then playfully tossed the jacket on her face and tried to give her the flowers. Seeing this, Zia said, "As soon as you found out about my true identity, you came back to me so your Lu family could collaborate with us." Lusing replied, "This has nothing to do with your identity, Zia. I'm sorry. Even though I've said sorry to you many times in the past 3 years, I only now realize that I was wrong. My mistake was not trusting you and doubting your sincerity again and again. You can punish me however you want, but please give me another chance." Zia replied, "Do you think everything will be fine if you just say this? Do you even know how much I suffered in the last 3 years? Am I supposed to forget everything just because I hear these words from you? We were going to have a baby, but before I could even hear its heartbeat, you took it away from me." Lusing asked, "What did you say? You were pregnant?" Zia replied, "Yes, the baby you killed. You said you wanted it aborted." Lusing said, "No, I never asked you to have an abortion. In fact, I didn't even know you were pregnant. Otherwise, how could I have let this happen?" Then Zia said through her tears, "You and Zihuan have caused me so much pain." Lusing hugged her and said, "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you, but my feelings have always been just for you." Zia said, "So you want to start over? Then you'll have to pursue me again until I agree." Lusing replied, "Fine, I'll pursue you and follow whatever you say." After this, Zia hugged him. In the next scene, Lusing was cooking, and Zia hugged him from behind. Lusing said, "What are you doing here? Please go outside and wait for the food." Zia replied, "I can't wait. I never expected that the president of the Lu group could even cook." Then Lusing took out a wedding ring and said, "Please, give me one more chance." Seeing this, Zia said, "You even kept our engagement ring?" Then she agreed to marry him, and Lusing put the ring on her finger. They hugged, and with this, the drama came to an end. What do you think? Should Zia have gone back to Lusing? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to watch more Chinese dramas like this. Thanks for watching.